Here in Choma at Nana's Lodge. I also would like to thank the party officials who are here at this briefing this morning, today, Sunday. This morning, as Deputy Spokesperson of the UPND, I would like to take opportunity to address we will be talking about my refusal to apologize to the House in Parliament and the consequent reactions from some sections of our society. We'll be talking about the violence on the Copper Belt. We'll also be talking about what my dear colleague, Honorable Lusambo, was talking about yesterday. So there we go. The nation will recall that on Friday, last Friday, I was asked by the National Assembly of Zambia, by Mr. Speaker, to apologize because of the statement I had made on Diamond TV. I think it was either on 16th or 18th of somewhere February 2020, this year, where I made reference to the statement the Vice President had made to say the gassing which was going on in the country was the work of the opposition agitating for regime change. And I said such statements were shallow and shameful. And so Parliament, the National Assembly, somehow sought to punish me by way of asking me to apologize. And my conscience could not allow me to apologize for no wrongdoing, in my view. Because I felt that apologizing for no wrongdoing is doing wrong itself. Because I would be setting a dangerous precedent that in future, even people who haven't done anything wrong should be asked to apologize. What I did was merely, in terms of Article 88(2) of the Republican Constitution, to comment on the deliberations of what was happening in Parliament as a citizen. And I thought that that freedom of speech should not be withdrawn from me simply because I'm a member of Parliament. No way. This is not an act of, it wasn't an act of impunity or defiance or anything. It was just in defense of the Constitution that I saw before Mr. Speaker to defend, which allows me to enjoy my freedom of speech. That's all. But I'm shocked that the Patriotic Front government has hired various mercenaries, political mercenaries, representing certain interest groups to converge at calling me all sorts of names, condemning me. I'm also aware that they are requesting several other organizations, NGOs, to come on board to take a swipe at me so that it looks like I'm the one who was wrong and the Vice President was right. I'm aware. So I'd like to take this opportunity to respond to those people who are condemning me and asking me to apologize. Number one, Professor Luo said, refusing to apologize, we will now discourage women from participating in politics. And that I needed to apologize to Her Honor the Vice President because I'm a young man and she's an elderly woman. According to African tradition, I should be able to respect elders. This is my response. On the issue of Professor Luo talking about Her Honor the Vice President to say, because she's a woman, and trying to sneak in a gender perspective in this discussion, which is purely a discussion about gassing and lies about gassing, will not work. Professor Luo's statements were highly misplaced and lost. There was no gender connotation or undertone I made when I said that the Vice President's statements on gassing, that the opposition were agitating regime change, were shallow and shameful, given the esteem of her office. And I was looking at the Vice Presidency. I was not looking at the occupant. And even now we are talking about the Vice President of the Republic of Zambia. We are not talking about a woman or a man. So, the attempt by Professor Luo to try and turn this into a gender-sensitive issue won't work. In fact, Professor Luo would have reminded herself that she is my counterpart in the advocacy for the gender agenda. She is the chairperson for the Women Caucus at Parliament in the advancement of gender issues. And I am the chairperson for the Men's Caucus for gender at Parliament. So she is my counterpart. Therefore, there is no issue of gender that should be associated with the Vice President's statements about gassing. In fact, conversely, Professor Luo and others are trying to objectify the Vice President as a woman victim. That is absurd, because she is not a victim. And it is not a question of her being a woman. It is a question of her holding the office of Vice President and tell lies to the nation that the opposition are the ones conducting gassing. Such an attempt to try and bring a gender perspective to this discussion is like trying to say that when you are a woman and you are a leader, you have a license, unfettered license to tell lies. That you now own a franchise because you are a woman, to misinform Parliament, to misinform the nation, misinform the world. Is that what they are saying? And I don't think that is right. And I am against anyone trying to ask a woman who has done something wrong to get away with it because she's a woman. Because that is not what women stand for in leadership. Women in leadership stand for truth. Women stand for truth. And therefore, to try and position Her Honor the Vice President as a woman in this discourse is a misnomer. I, as chairperson for the Zambia Men's Parliamentary Network on Gender Equality at Parliament, look at Her Honor the Vice President not as a woman. I look at her as a leader. Those are the lenses through which I see her. She's a leader. I hope it is very clear to Professor Luo and others that there is no gender issue here. In fact, Professor Luo would do well to remember that I'm a chief advocate or champion of gender issues on the floor of Parliament and outside Parliament more than many. And I enjoy a cordial and warm relationship with the women movement in Zambia. And because of that, this coming week, I will be traveling. This same week, I will be traveling into Lusaka to go and pay a courtesy call at the offices of the NDOCC, the Women Lobby, and other institutions that are like-minded in the crusade for the gender agenda. I want to go and visit them, to go and reassure them that as chairperson for the Zambia Men's Parliamentary Network on Gender Equality at Parliament, I remain resolved and resolute to continue working hand in hand with them in the advancement of gender issues. And I will not be detracted by political opportunists who want to spin this discussion, which is centered around gassing and lies about gassing, to turn it into a gender-sensitive issue. Secondly, telling me to say I'm a young man, I must apologize to Her Honor the Vice President because she's an elderly person according to our tradition. I agree with our tradition that we must respect elders, but elders must also respect themselves for them to be respected. That is how it works. There is no elderly person in our tradition in Zambia who disrespect themselves and expect young people to respect them. They are not there in society. Any elderly person in society who disrespects themselves, they are disrespected. That's how it works. I'm not saying I will or I am disrespecting the Vice President. No, I'm just trying to put context. And now, contrary to what the Vice President, contrary to what Professor Luo said, that my refusal to apologize would discourage women. Professor Luo, by looking at me as a young man and not a member of Parliament who is as equal as her in Parliament, by looking at me as a young man and asking me to shut up, stopping to point out the truth and standing for truth, is now in itself discriminatory and segregative against the young people in Zambia, that they cannot talk. This is the reason why when the youth of this country try to talk against corruption, they are called disgruntled. Because we have a leadership that believes that young people have got no right to talk. So I find Professor Luo's statement that I am a young person and therefore I need to apologize for no wrongdoing simply because Her Honor the Vice President is an elderly person. I find that totally unacceptable. That is an attempt to malign young people and create a society where in Parliament, those who are elderly should have freedoms different to young people who are members of Parliament. Zambia is a constitutional democracy which is guided by the rule of law, and at the apex of it is the supremacy of the law and equality before the law. So I am a member of Parliament in Parliament the same way Professor Luo is, and the same way anybody who sits there is. We are equal. To ask me to apologize because I'm a young person is an attempt to place a knee on the neck of young people in Zambia so that they can stop talking and stop breathing. Such an approach should not be condoned. And I ask youth organizations and those who support young people to participate in politics to condemn Professor Luo for looking at me as a young person who should not stand for the truth. Because I believe that young people, normally, the majority of young people actually stand for the truth. So to begin now to malign young people that you are young, apologize even when there is nothing to apologize, is abhorrent and absurd. Should not come from a professor. I expect that young people and organizations that are championing the cause of young people should ask Professor Luo to apologize for demeaning me, looking at me as a young person and not looking at the role I'm playing as a member of Parliament. And that when I talk, I represent people, including elderly people in Zambia. Here in Choma, there are so many elderly people who voted for me. So when I speak the voice of elderly people. And anybody trying to look at me as a young person is misplaced. And they can forget about intimidating me on the score of age. To try and bring age to silence me won't work. I started speaking a long time as president of Unzasu. And I'm not about to shut up because I'm talking to an elderly woman who has lied to the nation. I'm, however, quick to state that I am willing to go back to Parliament and apologize. I believe I will be apologizing to the House, contrary to what the Speaker said, to say, for purposes of record, the Member of Parliament for Choma Central has refused to apologize to Her Honor the Vice President. I think that pronouncement by Mr. Speaker was in itself misplaced. Maybe he got emotional. When you apologize on the floor of the House, you apologize to the House. Because the point of order that was raised was about the decorum of the House. And the purported punishment that was being executed on me was about violation of the rules of the House, not the rules of the office of the Vice President. No. So I was supposed to apologize to the House. So I'm putting it very clear here. I'm willing to go to apologize to the House and also to Her Honor the Vice President and to the nation on one condition. On the condition that the Vice President should retract her statement that the opposition were the ones behind gassing, they were agitating for regime change. let her retract that statement and apologize to Parliament for misinforming and misleading the National Assembly of Zambia and the nation over gassing. Once she has done so, I will run to Parliament to go and apologize. There is no way someone has told lies here. You leave that person. You ask someone who is pointing out to say this is lies, then you ask that person to say you apologize. What type of state are we trying to create? And I'm not going to be part of it. I'm not going to be part of it. There is equality before the law in Zambia. So, there should be no people who must feel too odd or holding a position too big that when they tell lies, they cannot be reminded. Those people don't exist in the world I live in. If somebody feels too odd that they want that even if they tell lies, we must keep quiet, well, there are places where they can be found. Go home. Go home. Go to the village, like we are here in the village. There are people all over in the village here who are living peacefully. But if you come in public life and you want respect, when you are lying to a nation, should create new rules that should bar people from reminding you that you are lying about gassing. Hey, Madam Vice President, you lied about gassing. Then when those laws are operational, I will be the first one to shut up. Not when I know that I enjoy my freedom. And I know that by saying this statement is wrong, there is nothing wrong I have done. And I must keep quiet. It is often said that the world comes to an end the day we begin to be silent about wrongdoing. So prepare for more. Those who are expecting an apology from me, I am ready to apologize, but ask the Vice President first of all to retract her statement and apologize over gassing. The statements she made about gassing on the floor of the House. Parliament enjoys, immunities. MPs enjoy privileges and immunities on the floor of the House. And because people are now pushing me, deliberately, agilely pushing me, I'm now going into Parliament to raise a point of order whether the Vice President was in order to misinform the House. Because the immunities we enjoy at Parliament and privileges in our freedom of speech on the floor of the House are to the extent that what you are saying is factual. And what she said was not true. And it was buttressed by Honorable SILIYA, who went to Prime TV and told the nation that the opposition had nothing to do with gassing. So these are the facts. So I must be asked to apologize because of age. As a mother, I respect Her Honor the Vice President. She is my mother. She is my mother. Through her, I see my mother. That cannot be disputed. I respect her. But that has nothing to do with her statement over gassing. Me, I'm just dealing with the issue of gassing, not the issue of being a woman, being a mother. No. Gassing. Who gassed the people? We are going to continue to renew our call. We want to know who gassed the people because a lot of lives were lost over gassing. It's just that in the last few months, we've been preoccupied with coronavirus, COVID-19. All of us were scared of dying of corona. I was also scared of COVID-19. I was scared of dying of COVID-19. But I'm not scared of dying by people, politicians plotting against me because I'm telling them to stop lying. I'm not. Because I was elected to represent people of Choma Central and the people of Zambia fearlessly. That's what I do. There is the issue of violence on the Copper Belt. On behalf of the UPND, we take occasion to condemn the instances of violence reported on the Copper Belt and elsewhere. We as UPND would like to renew our call and commitment to the spirit of one Zambia, one nation, under a banner of peace. This is what Zambia has always been known for. Peace. Peace. Peace, love, and unity. That is what one Zambia, one nation motto has been espousing. But we have noted lately that political violence is slowly becoming part and parcel of our political tradition. It's very unfortunate. And I'm not going to blame this on the Patriotic Front. I'm not going to blame this on MMD. I'm not going to blame this on UPND. I'll blame this in the office of President of the Republic of Zambia. Because the President of the Republic of Zambia, at any given time, is the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Meaning, he is the one who is the boss of Zambia Police. He is the boss of Zambia Intelligence Services. He is the boss of Zambia Army, ZNS, Zambia Correctional Services. He is the boss. And the day we shall have a president like Mwanawasa, who would say, if you cadres are going to get involved in violence, no one will protect you, there will be no sacred cow, the law will visit you, then violence will end in Zambia. The idea of blaming, no, it's PF cadres in Mufurira, no, it's UPND cadres in Mufurira. It is losing sight of who should be blamed. It is the President of the Republic of Zambia, because he can end violence by one instruction. It would appear His Excellency President Edgar Chagwalungu, Commander-in-Chief, appears to me at least, that he is happy to see what is going on. Because he has everything it takes at his disposal to end violence with just one instruction. Like we have said before, we will judge President Lungu in the fight against political violence, in the fight against corruption, not by what he says, but by what he does. I'm aware that it should be yesterday, he made some statements to condemn violence. It is what he should do that matters. If UPND cadres somewhere are alleged to have committed acts of violence, or indeed PF cadres, we do not expect busloads of PF cadres to say we are going to revenge or hunt down UPND cadres, and vice versa. We expect truckloads of police officers to say we are going to hunt down perpetrators of this violence, because that is a crime. That is what a government that is governed by means of rule of law does. We've never seen this level of impunity in this country. We are calling on President Lungu to put his foot down and end this. He will not be in State House forever. One day he will become an ordinary member of society who may suffer the vagaries of this political violence that many people right now are victim to. And that goes to many office bearers, including the IG. Including the IG. As a former police officer myself, we were taught that there are two most important orders that you must respect as a police officer. And the IG is aware. It is to respect the order of your superior. And where your superior is wrong, the first applies. Meaning, even if your superior is wrong, you still have to follow. But there is a caveat there to say, provided they are lawful orders. So police need to act professionally. If we are going to have a situation where cadres in Kasama, cadres in Nakonde, cadres somewhere are saying, no, here we are going to do this to UPND. PF are also a big minority in a large span of this country called Zambia, where PF have no stronghold. If the UPND also say here, this is a no-go area for PF, begin to attack PF officials the same way we witnessed yesterday PF cadres doing in Mufurira, there will be no space for PF here in Choma, if that is going to be the case. There will be no space. But we, as members of, me as member of parliament for Choma, representing my colleagues, the members of parliament of the entire UPND, we can never allow a situation. And that is why, when these PF colleagues have been saying, no, this is a no-go area, this is a no-go area, there is nowhere where UPND has stood and said this is a no-go area because it's a UPND stronghold, it's a no-go area for PF. No. Because we know that such behavior is senseless. Only people who can't compete on ideas resort to violence. Politics is a contestation of ideas, not pangas, not stones, not guns. As such, my colleagues in the UPND, the members of parliament, they have authorized me to state here that all areas that are UPND dominated are actually a go area for Boma in Lusambo, for GBM, and for anybody, any Zambian. There is no area which is UPND dominated where we are going to begin to place restrictions to say this is a no-go area for anybody. No, that is in Zambia. What we are seeing now, this is a no-go area, this is a no-go area, are desperate attempts to cling on to power using violence. Those are kicks of a dying horse. The last kicks of a dying horse. PF are exiting 2021, whether they like it or yes. And we shall match them equally until they leave office peacefully using the ballot. They were thinking that governing a country is games. Dancing. It's not a game of dancing in Mwebantu. It's a game of applying ideas. And if you have no ideas, you get kicked out. Others come in. That is how government operates. You can't go in there. There are sweet things there, corruption. Then you want to remain there forever. No. A minister is appearing at court for corruption. He is escorted by a horde of cadres. They go and even disrupt court proceedings. What type of government is this? It is those things why Zambians are agreed. It's PF is going. This brings me now to the issue of Bowman Lusambo yesterday. He went to town castigating HH, this HH that, this HH that. Well, our response is simple. You see, HH is being put to a real fairness test. Because when HH becomes president, he is going to he may receive more insults than those Bowman Lusambo, than those statements Bowman Lusambo were pelting at HH. Calling HH a thief, calling HH all sorts of names. He stole money over privatization and all the paraphernalia of issues he raised, which all Zambians know is not true. Because if that was true, HH would have not survived from 2006 to now without appearing in any court of law over those allegations they keep talking about. Why are they talking about it and not taking action if it were true? It is cheap politics. And because we understand that it is cheap politics, there is no need for anyone to feel injured by what Bowman Lusambo said. HH is simply being put to test whether he has the stamina of what it takes as he prepares to lead this country come 2021. So, we in the UPND, we are not going to react angrily to my brother Bowman Lusambo, because doing so would be giving an example of how intolerant a government of UPND would be to views that are divergent to ours. And we know that with the abundance of freedom of speech, when HH becomes president, there will be people who call him all sorts of names. We don't want him to be like President Lungu. When Chera Tukuta speaks against corruption under this administration, you get arrested. We don't want HH to be like that. And that's why we shall not react angrily to Brother Bowman Lusambo, specialized in being Vuvuzela #1, because he has no ideas in his brain that he can contribute to President Lungu to offer policy alternatives and solutions to the general governance of the country and also to the economic recovery of our country. Nothing. He doesn't even realize that he's a minister. He still carries himself as though it is those days he used to put on a blue overall or work suit, calling himself MMD diehard. That is why you can have a minister say Copper Belt province will be a no-go area. No brains. Bowman Lusambo, no brains. So when a person has no brains like Bowman Lusambo, why should people be gnashing their teeth in anger? No, listen what Bowman Lusambo has said. Bowman Lusambo has no brains, he's my friend. Huh? He is my friend. Me, I know him well. I know him. And I'm going to deal with him at Parliament when we meet. Because everyone knows Boma Nusambo has no brains to help President Lungu govern better. Everyone knows. So why should people be disturbed by what Boma Nusambo says? Leave Boma Nusambo to me. He's my friend. I'll deal with him at Parliament when we meet. I would like to conclude on the note that as UPND, we shall continue to work with the government of His Excellency, President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, by continuing to provide credible checks and balances so that our democracy continues to breathe. Our democracy needs to continue to breathe. This is not an issue of life and death. This is an issue of governing ourselves as a country and ensuring that we hand over to the next generation a peaceful country that we inherited from UNIP, from MMD, peaceful, loving, and united Zambia. What was referred to as the beacon of peace in the region. We don't want to be part of the generation that would tear down the peace and unity of this country and be remembered in history that it was during the political lifetime of these people that Zambia disintegrated from being united and peaceful. I believe there are so many people in the Patriotic Front, especially members of parliament in the Patriotic Front, including party officials in the Patriotic Front that I talk to, like Kenneth Kamba. Kenneth Kamba is a friend of mine. We are all agreed that we need peace. I know that the other day he issued a statement about me and my mother, Honorable Inonge Wina. But Kenneth Kamba, like many others, we are friends. No one should cheat. I have a lot of friends in the Patriotic Front. And in fact, if you ask MPs, they'll tell you that my best friends at Parliament are actually PF ministers. Everyone knows at Parliament who my best friends are. And it is not a secret. The people I hang around with, the people we chat with about how we need to preserve the peace of this country, how this country needs to continue as a going concern, are actually PF. I have had several deliberations with my good friend, Honorable Kampiongo. How as young MPs or politicians, we need to work together to ensure that these ugly scenes of violence are gotten rid of. So that friendship we enjoy at Parliament. We eat and drink together. We laugh together. We buy talk time for each other. We even buy fuel for each other. When friends like, when we go out of the country, whether a minister is going out of the country or an ordinary MP goes out of the country, and you tell your friends, I'm going out of the country. You tell, my friend, where are you going? I'm going to South. Please, when you come back, get me a perfume at Oliver Tambo Airport, or get me a tie. We buy these things for each other. Then we get paid. We are laughing, eating with our families. Then the people who elect us, we go and mislead them to say, no, you are enemies. Can you begin to kill each other? That deception should come to an end. Members of Parliament must rise, above board. And if the friendship we enjoy at Parliament, we are able to exhibit it in society and transmit it to our electorates for them to look at each other as brother and sister, there can be no violence in Zambia. We were in Katuba, a place, Katuba by-election, a place which many people had said would be a graveyard. There will be death. They were posting, videos on social media, doing exercises, doing whatever, they were showing off their muscles. Graveyard in Katuba. There was no graveyard in Katuba. There was no violence in Katuba. Because we sat with, as campaign manager for the UPND, I sat with the campaign manager for the Patriotic Front, my brother, Honorable Mweetwa. And at every stage we agreed how we are supposed to work together. And in the evenings, we would eat together. We would even drink together. Because you cannot just eat, you need to drink water after eating. And there was no peace. Whenever there were flashes of violence, like there will be violence here, the first thing I would do is to call Honorable MP. Or if it is him who has seen something sinister, the first thing he would call me. Then together we call the police, we sit. That is how we must live as Zambians. So those who want to continue fighting, continue your fights. Those fights are misguided. Us, we shall continue to interact as friends at Parliament. Yes. There is nothing to hide. Those who think that politics is war, you are misled. We are friends there. We just differ on ideas on how to govern this country better. That's why on the floor of the House, we will be, yelling at each other. Come and watch us during break. The same person who was raising a point of order on the floor of the House is the first one to buy you a Fanta or any other drink. That's how it is. So those who don't know, you are misapplying your efforts. To the youth of this country, do not allow yourselves to be abused by politicians. Do not. Which politician have you ever seen who goes to say, let's go and attack PF, let's go and attack UPND. And the first person they put to say, join this one, is their own son. Have you ever seen a son or a daughter of a politician throwing stones anywhere? So why should you yourselves be throwing stones when the people you are fighting for have left their children at home enjoying T-bone? Or they will send their children abroad studying. Then you are to throw stones. It's time to wake up. That is why here in Choma there is no violence. Even during campaign times here in Choma, we interact with PF freely. And that's why many of those people who wear PF regalia actually vote for me. So, let us apply our energies where it matters. And for us leaders, especially members of Parliament, let us be truthful. Let us also go back to our parties and tell our, party officials that we are friends, we are not enemies. Otherwise, we will be held responsible that our generation tore down the strong foundations of peace, love and unity that this country was founded upon in 1964 under the banner One Zambia, One Nation. I thank you, colleagues. And have a good day. Do we have any questions? Media people? Yes, Baita FM?
Yes, Honorable, following your refusal to apologize to the Vice President, are you ready for the implication that comes with you refusing to apologize if there's any punishment that will be put? And also the other question is your reaction to the Correctional Service boss where he said and no opposition which is not ready to work with the president will be allowed to campaign in correctional services?
Well, I think that the issue of, if I may deal with that first one, the issue of what the Commissioner General for the for the prison service said, all Zambians, agree, including himself, that that was a misplaced statement. It was cadre exuberance. I think he was too excited to be in that position and to be hosting the head of state, and therefore needed to show some cadre behavior. If I'm not mistaken, have you forgotten that this is the same cadre, Commissioner Chireshi, who had donated animals belonging to the prison service to a minister? Have you forgotten? If I'm not mistaken, it's him. So this is a trigger-happy commissioner. The trigger-happy commissioner. And by way of his conduct, he's a trigger-happy cadre in uniform. But the Vice President on Friday clarified that matter, or to say that, in fact, there will be no political party that will go to canvass for votes. So not even PF will go and campaign. Now, the issue of how, therefore, people will vote when they have had no access to messages of campaign will be conducted. It's an issue which I think for now cannot be exhausted until the issue of whether at all inmates will vote or not is resolved. I think that matter is not rested. And if it is, I'm sure there will be modalities that will be put in place to ensure that those people have access to messages. In any event, many of those prisoners actually can't vote for PF because a number of them are innocent. They are innocent. They've been put there by this administration. So we already have campaign managers there as UPND in the prison services. Those who are innocent, they will be campaigning against His Excellency and his party. In fact, even if you go to vote today, unless they just fear that they will be punished, but what can they fear? Because they are already undergoing punishment. PF can lose there. Because look at how those people sleep. If you look at Choma prisons, it was built for 100 people, holding capacity. It now, right now, presently, oscillating around 600 prisoners. When the space was for 100 people. Look at their diet. What do they eat? Now, such people, you expect them to vote for a regime, and they hear there where because there are TVs in prison, they hear how this government, under its administration, 48 houses have been built without an owner. They have heard about fire trucks, $42 million. They have heard about illegal mining in Mukushi North. They have heard about gold mining and the abuse. They have heard about corruption under this administration. And some of them, I'm sure, know that if there was no such levels of plunder and corruption, some of that money was supposed to be given to the prison service to better the lives of prisoners. They know. So, PF, but you know when you have lost power, every campaign built in a dead thing, you now go to Livingstone and you start erecting billboards. You are advertising WTO. You remember Zambia hosted the thing, the WTO conference a few years ago. It was a big global event. That's the last time we saw billboards like they were erecting yesterday in Livingstone, calling on citizens to support butane. That money which they are wasting there, take it to go and provide social services. It will work and make sense. Butane. I want to comment further. Butane is before the courts of law. Let me come to the issue of my punishment. Well, punishment, before I decided to do what I did, I knew that there could be consequences. If I was not prepared to take those consequences, I wouldn't have done what I did. But if you recall, I made it very clear to Mr. Speaker that I would like to be punished for me doing something wrong than being punished for doing nothing wrong. So I will be punished. If I will be punished, it must be for something I have done wrong. If they will go ahead to punish me for refusing to apologize, it's a good punishment. It will not be I will not be punished for refusing to apologize. No, I will be punished for refusing to take instruction to apologize for something wrong. So I'm very happy to be punished that way, because my conscience will remain clear. And there are a lot of things to do. We are remaining with the 8-9 months before the dissolution of Parliament. So if I'm, for instance, the worst punishment that can be slapped on me is a suspension from Parliament, no allowance, no salary, no what. You people, how do you live? Are you parliamentarians? Do you get paid from Parliament? I would be very happy to be in the constituency campaigning for regime change during that period. I will use it fruitfully, campaign heavily, with or without notice to the police. That's what I'll do. Because watching CNN, where someone said, in fact, I was on virtual parliament, because I'm a member of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund Global Parliamentarians Forum. I represent the Parliament of Zambia. But because we hold our meetings in Washington around this same period, but because of this coronavirus, the meetings have been have not taken place. So what has happened is that we had Parliament. We had our parliamentary debate as members of the IMF and World Bank, forum of MPs via virtual parliament, video conferencing. And the vice president of the World Bank, and indeed another person said, because we are looking at how will the world economy, come back after COVID-19. What are the measures that lawmakers should propose to their various parliaments to put in place to ensure a quick recovery and a resilient economy after COVID-19? And one of the discussants said, this COVID-19 should not just be looked at as a disaster. Every disaster should be seen to present an opportunity. This COVID-19 has now awoken the world to do more than what it has done in terms of research, in terms of science and innovation. So any attempt to send me away from Parliament would be a great political opportunity for me to go and canvass votes against this bad government of PF and ensure that we have regime change in 2021. My conscience is very clear. No amount of punishment can threaten me. Nothing. If I was scared of punishment, I would not have been saying the things I say. And I say them knowing very well that I represent the majority of Zambians. We shall continue to talk this way at any cost. Thank you. Colleagues, is there any other question?
Yes.
That's one I think last week you reviewed some of the members from the ministers that were holding fuel, that were stuck with fuel. And in some tabloid, you even reviewed the names of those people. My question is, don't you think it would be the right move now to report them to relevant authorities than just the way you do to the media?
Okay. Another question I can see here from YGFM.
Yes. Government to channel COVID-19 funds to developmental projects across the country. Maybe you can give us your reactions on the same.
Maybe just another question. There's been an alleged selectiveness in as far as assuring of the NRCs. I don't know if you, as a UPND, you've received that concern. And also, one would say you've been a member of Parliament of Choma Centre for some time now. Would you consider leaving all these people still crafting so that another person can come on board and continue from where you ended as far as 2021 is concerned?
Well, thank you very much for those very good questions. Let me start with Maston for Radio Phoenix. The issues I raised last week, I don't want to commingle this briefing with so many issues. I don't want to less it. As you know, we'll be holding a briefing here in Choma every weekend, so that my friend here who thinks that I live in Osaka can know that I'm around.
Yes, Honorable.
So we'll deal with that one separately. The issue of government channeling COVID resources to other developmental areas. Well, I think that one, I must state here that I'm still doing some research and consultation, because the only thing I can say for now is that is now government telling Zambians that there is no COVID-19 in Zambia, because we have seen that they've removed even the checkpoints that they had put on major roads where people would be, motorists would be stopped to sanitize. They have been removed, and now they are talking of channeling those resources elsewhere. We'll be seeking further clarity before we can come up with a fundamental position of the UPND, because the type of politics we want to do in the UPND is we don't want all the time government does something. You can only see the bad side of it. No, why? They want to take this money, they want to abuse it, it's corruption. No. Sometimes government means well, except that they don't explain properly sometimes to the people. And sometimes because they believe that because they have said it on ZNBC, the people have followed. People don't have time to watch ZNBC that much, because they are sick and tired of being fed on the same menu. Lies every day, lies. If you want to be heard on ZNBC, you will be heard by way of people rebuking you. They rebuke you. That's so me, I was telling someone yesterday, I've enjoyed the coverage of ZNBC in the last 2 days. I've been given more time than even President Lungu, because there are more people talking about Mweetwa now. So that is the only way we can be heard more. I'll continue to perform some political theatrics so that we can use the back door to get some coverage on ZNBC. That's the only way it would appear. Then your question was, I've been around for a while. Am I not considering stepping down? That is a good question. This is only my second term. There are some people who think I've been a member of parliament for 20 years actually. Even in parliament itself, some MPs think I've been there for 20 years. No, I have just been around the political arena since 2004 when I was president of Unzasu and tackling national issues from that time to date. So some people think all this I have been doing it in parliament. No. So leaving next year as member of parliament, for me, is not a problem. It's welcome. I'm willing to leave, to pave way for another person to, come and participate. Because this race, you can't be there forever. You have to exchange the baton. You have to exchange the baton. I'm willing to leave in 2021.
Are you going to leave?
Provided I haven't finished. Provided the people who elect me say so. So if the electorate say so, who am I to say no? But if a small clique of individuals who don't like me for whatever good reasons they have say I must leave, those who want me will respond on my behalf. So there is no question of leaving when people are still clapping. We have a big agenda. It's not about people clapping for me. I want to leave when people are clapping. We are fighting here, we are fighting a government, a party in government that wants our country to sink. So this is not time about talking about me being an MP or another. It's about us focusing energy. And I love Parliament for one reason. And that is the reason why, those who recall when I first contested in 2011, I said I want to be a member of Parliament. Not because I have money, not because I have a big house, but because I want to use that platform to tell the people the truth. So I'm still around. 2021, I'll go back to the people to ask if the people will be satisfied. I'm here forever to do politics. Not forever as a member of parliament, no, but forever to do politics. Because me, the politics has gone in my blood too much that even after I'm retired, I will still be doing politics from my farm and going to church. Two things. Thank you, colleagues. I think we have had a wonderful moment to interact, and I would just now want to take the opportunity to learn from the various people who have been following our live streaming on Facebook and other platforms, and also we've been live on Baita, FM. I would like to pay special thanks to Baita FM for according us this opportunity to transmit this briefing live from Nana's Lodge here in Choma, and also for all those who have taken time to follow, and especially those who have made comments, on social media. It is our habit that once we are done, we actually go now and see what the people are saying. It's unfortunate that normally people will send questions who are following on social media and we don't respond. I was just telling my colleagues before we started that next time, what we shall be doing is that as questions hit, our platform, we should be able to take some of those that are intriguing or have, highlight issues so that we respond, while we are still live. But we value your contributions. Thank you very much, dear colleagues from the media. I wish you a good day.